All right, coming to you with another Once Human tutorial video. This time I want to talk a little bit about a feature that was in the early betas and then removed and now is back again, which is the house blueprint system. So I've had a couple of different people, quite a few people actually, who have watched my base building video, and they've begun to ask, like, can you share the blueprint for this? And just give me the blueprint so I can just copy your blueprint. And the answer, as far as I could tell, is no. I don't see a way to just give somebody the blueprint in here. You know, you can change it, you can delete it. It gives you an overview. I don't see any way to share it. But there are a couple of things to talk about when it comes to the blueprint that I think are worth noting. The first one being, and I'm hoping this is just like an oversight on their part, because I'm sort of confused why they would do it this way. The initial blueprint I created of the first floor of my base that I was working on, I did in Eternal Land, which, if you don't know what Eternal Land is, just real quick, you can access it here. Once you get to an appropriate level, it will pop up and tell you Eternal Land unlocked. I think it's level 20. And then you can go there and you can enter Eternal Land, and it becomes like your own personal sort of sandbox you can build in and do whatever you want in. But it's different because it doesn't require the normal resources. It takes this resource called sand, and you get sand by selling stuff to the shop in Eternal Land and by deconstructing buildings and trees and materials around the island and things like that. And I thought, well, the logical thing to do in this situation is to jump into Eternal Land and build your blueprint where you have like somewhat infinite resources, and then save it and bring it out and build it in the normal world, right? And unfortunately, that does not seem to be what they are allowing you to do, which I don't really understand why. You can see here it's labeled Eternal Land exclusive, which means I cannot build it in this world. If I try to pull it out and plop it down, it says you can't do this. Hopefully that's something they change, because I would think, again, that would be a huge part of why you would go into Eternal Land, is to build structures and experiment, and then if you like what you built, save it and then pull it out into the real world. It's not like you're going to be able to get around using the resources. But regardless, whether or not they change that, this is definitely my official feedback saying to change that. There are a couple things that are worth noting when you make a blueprint and you want to deploy it out into the world. The first thing being, you've got a structure list here which shows all the actual structures that you've used. But more importantly, I think, pay attention to the materials tab. And this is going to give you an idea of exactly how many materials you need to replicate this base. And you're going to need all these materials to plop it down. It's just going to auto create all this. It's not going to allow you to like fill it in as time goes on. You can also toggle over here on the left on material placement, which is kind of behind my head here. I'll hide myself for a moment. This material placement menu over here allows you to swap between different material types when you go to put it down. And it will, as you can see, sort of populate up into that type. So if you're just starting out a brand new server and you don't have stone or you don't have steel yet, but you want to plop down your base, you can downgrade it all the way to wood. This is a great feature. So you can go ahead and downsize it, even though you may have built it and saved it as, you know, let's say reinforced at the top tier, right? It also kind of gives you a little bit of a look at what the base is going to look like at different levels. If you just sort of want to look at it aesthetically and be like, do I want to upgrade to this material? Is it worth the cost? You can kind of get a little idea what it's going to look like. So that's also kind of a cool feature. You can also add a note to it if you want to notate, you know, some things to like remember it, stuff like that. You can change the name. The characters you can fit in the name are, you know, a little bit limited, but not too bad. They also have the ability to tag it, which this kind of interesting. It almost seems to suggest by tagging it that they plan on allowing you to share these blueprints eventually, which would be really neat if there was just sort of like an interface to view everybody's blueprints and share them out there. That would be a really neat feature. But so far as I can tell right now, that's not available. You know, there's no share button, there's no UI. But one thing you do have that's pretty neat as well is this presets tab. And these are just kind of a couple of basic bases that they have provided from the developers, and you can kind of go inside and see what it looks like and spin around and stuff like that. But if you're not looking to build your own base quite yet and go through something, you know, sort of a complicated building process, and you just want a base that looks somewhat decent and is functional, you can also grab one of these. And this is what I'm hoping, like I say, eventually will be a methodology to share base designs with other players, so that I can just provide you guys the base that I have built, and perhaps multiple stages of blueprints, you know, just the first floor, then with the second floor, then maybe like a third floor, and you guys will just be able to deploy that into your game. But as of right now, I don't, like I said, I don't see a way to do that, but it seems to suggest they want this to be a thing, right? Because they've got tags, they've got an owner thing here, they've got like you know, all these different things that you can use to customize it and provide information. They just don't really have a way to share it yet. So that's kind of mainly what I wanted to show, is how the blueprint system works, to let you guys know that this Eternal Land exclusive thing, I think, is an oversight. Hopefully they change it, but like, just so you know, you don't go into Eternal Land, spend like 5 hours or something building your custom base, then you go to export it and oops, you know, it doesn't let you. And if you're, like, say, if you're a new player and you're not really ready to commit to a full base build, just grab a preset out of here and just plop one down and maybe build off of that and come up with your own design after. In order to save it, it's pretty easy. You just come into the blueprint menu after going into the build and do add blueprint. You have a couple of different options here, which I also like. You can do save all, which saves literally everything that you've ever built, that being my base and the little platform I put my garage on out back for the time being. Or you have select single building, which if you go into fly mode is very easy to do, where you can point and say, I just want to save this one building, or maybe even I just want to save this garage, even though obviously that's probably not something you want to do. So you can just kind of point at it and save the building really easy, just like that. One thing I haven't tested, I guess we could see whether or not it even allows me to try to do this. I'm not sure. Maybe I have to run over there. I'm not sure if you can save somebody else's base if you have build permissions. Let's test that out real quick. So like this base, for example, is my friend's base. Okay, so you can't go into fly mode outside your base. I knew that, but I decided to try it anyway. Okay, so it looks like you can. Okay, so that's pretty neat. So I can save his base. So you can save a friend's base. So maybe a methodology to spreading these blueprints around, if they don't add an interface, and even just for the time being, if you happen to be on my server, you might be able to come over and just copy the house and plug it into your game world that way. That's still pretty limiting, obviously, because we're probably not all in the same server. And then you got to be high enough level to where my base is, and then come over here and blah blah blah. But at least that's an option. At least we know that option exists, so that's pretty neat. But I have a feeling they're going to add some sort of share functionality. It just feels like it. Otherwise, they're missing, I think, a big opportunity. And why add all that extra interface? You know, why add the ability to label it and all that if you're not going to allow us to share it? So that's pretty cool. I don't know 100% if you can copy somebody's base. If you don't have building privileges, you don't have any neighbors around here immediately to test it on, you might be able to go a little bit down the road and find somebody. We kind of built in a little bit of an area where there's not a lot of people, surprisingly enough, even though it's a decently active road right next to a major hub area here for doing questing. See if we can run into somebody relatively quickly. Isn't that always the way? Like, you run into bases 24/7 when you don't want to find them, but the second you do want to find a base, it's like you live in the middle of nowhere. You have no neighbors. There's just nobody out here. Wasteland. No bases out here. Teleport on the bike. Tell you what, we'll teleport back, and then we will jump over to a hub. But it's tall grass. And then there's probably going to be somebody closer to here. There's always people that build right outside the main hubs. There's somebody. One of these water bases. They also changed the swim animation and made it a lot faster, which is pretty neat. We'll come over to this guy's base real quick. Okay, so you can just save their base as well. Interesting. You don't even need build permissions. So if you see somebody's base that you think is really neat and you want to copy it, you can just straight up copy it. Which doesn't really bother me. It might bother some people. They might not like that idea. Oh no, it gives you insufficient permission. Oh, okay, so you can't just copy it. It just acts like you can. Oh, okay, all right. Still kind of interesting though. All right. Well, there you go. You can't just copy somebody's base without their permission, but relatively easy to do that, right? Just give somebody build permission real quick. If you don't, for some reason, know how to do that, I can just show you how to do that really quickly. You just go to Get United under the menu, and you can do it by friend, or you can do it by hive. Just right click on somebody's name. This is somebody that I've met on my server. And it's a little bit hidden here because it's collapsed by default, but it says friend permissions. You can give them build, access to facilities, or storage, and enable and deny. So you can just do that real quick. So if any of you guys happen to be on my server, which we're on PvE 15, you happen to be on the same server as me and you want to get the base level of the base design and you want to copy it into your blueprint, feel free to hit me up in the comments or whisper me in game and I'll show you guys where I'm at. You can come over and just grab it. Like I said, I know there's a lot of people who've been wanting to grab the base blueprint, so you're more than welcome to come over and grab it from me. And if this video is helping you out and you have any more questions, feel free to drop them down in the comments, leave a like, and consider subscribing to the channel. Very much appreciate all the support we've been getting from the Once Human community. And if you have any other video ideas, any other questions you have, feel free to drop those as well. I'm trying to get through everybody's comments and make the videos people are asking for. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Happy hunting out there.